What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 2:18 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming out of Russia and NATO. So, Russia and NATO have both formally withdrawn from the Conventional Forces Europe Treaty today, and this treaty set a limit on conventional forces that could be deployed and also a limit to the total number of certain types of heavy equipment that Russia and NATO could have. So those limits were 20,000 tanks, 20,000 artillery pieces, 30,000 armored combat vehicles, 6,800 combat aircraft, and 2,000 attack helicopters. So basically, neither side could have more than that. And this was passed in 1990 during the fall of the Soviet Union, and the purpose of the treaty was to prevent basically an all out war in Europe. And the treaty also set limits on the number of active units. So, out of, let's say, the 20,000 tanks that either Russia or NATO could have, or actually it was the USSR back then, out of that 20,000, they could only have 16,500 tanks deployed as part of active duty. And out of the 20,000 artillery pieces, only 17,000 could be deployed on the front lines. And out of the 30,000 armored combat vehicles, only 27,300 could be actually deployed on the front lines. Okay, so Russia was the first one to pull out of this treaty. They did so earlier this morning, and then NATO responded by doing the same thing. And we do know that over the last few weeks, Russia has been moving a lot of military transport planes into Kaliningrad, and Kaliningrad is a small piece of Russia that's stuck between Lithuania and Poland. And just like 3 days ago, there were five of these Russian transport planes, military transport planes, going to Kaliningrad in a single day. We had another one just today, okay, go to Kaliningrad. So Russia's definitely moving equipment into Kaliningrad. They also reorganized their Western Military District earlier this year, and they split it up into smaller districts, which many analysts think is a move to prepare for some kind of conflict in Eastern Europe and the Baltics and possibly Finland. So this is very, very concerning, guys. And this comes just a week after Putin signed a bill to pull out of the nuclear test ban treaty, which would allow Russia to do atmospheric and underwater nuclear weapons tests. And Putin also pulled out of the New START treaty earlier this year, which was created by Obama in 2008. And the New START treaty limited the number of warheads that the US and Russia could have deployed to 1,500. And it also limited the number of missiles and bombers. And so Putin pulled out of that earlier this year. And then also in 2019, Trump pulled out of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, which Putin responded by doing the same thing shortly after. So, guys, we're basically going back in time. We're going back to the height of the Cold War now. Okay, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty is gone. The New START Treaty is gone. The Nuclear Test Ban Treaty is gone. The Conventional Forces Europe Treaty is gone. All right, so basically, all of the major arms control treaties between Russia and NATO have evaporated. Okay, so this is very concerning, guys. Okay, and we've seen both sides posturing. Okay, we saw the U.S. Moving B-2 stealth bombers to Iceland. We've had the U.S. flying B-52s right to the border of Russia near Estonia earlier this year. And Russia has been testing a lot of missiles. They just recently tested one of their submarine launched ballistic missiles. The US just recently tested an ICBM, and the US tested a Minuteman III 2 months ago out of Vandenberg Air Force Base in California with three dummy warheads. Normally, these Minuteman III missiles are only supposed to have one, but this test was with three, which is evidence that the U.S. is either thinking about or in the process of rearming all of our Minuteman III missiles with three warheads rather than just one. And that's because Putin pulled out of the New START treaty, which forced us to remove two warheads from each of our 400 Minuteman III ICBMs. And you can thank Obama for that. That was the stupidest treaty ever. And Putin actually did us a favor by pulling out of it, because now we can rearm all of our Minuteman III ICBMs, and we can also rearm our Ohio class subs and add back four extra Trident missiles to each of our 14 Ohio class subs that have the Trident missiles. So Putin actually did us a favor, even though he probably didn't think he was going to do that. And just want to remind you guys that yesterday we had 7 nuclear war command and control planes in the air here in the US. Okay, these planes are responsible for communicating with our nuclear forces. 7 of them in one day is unprecedented, to say the least. I've been following these planes for the last 3 years, and even throughout the entire Ukraine war, I've never seen 7 nuclear war command and control planes in the air in a single day. Okay, normally it would be one, maybe two, occasionally three, but 7 in one day is just insane, guys. Okay, we also had a B-1 nuclear bomber fly over Saudi Arabia yesterday, and CENTCOM announced that a nuclear armed sub arrived in the Middle East. Okay, so tensions are soaring, guys. Okay, we are on the verge of World War III and nuclear war. It could happen any day. All right, so make sure you're prepared. You need to make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. You need to make sure you have a bug out bag. You know, these things are very, very important. Okay, anything can happen. We just don't know when, but it's coming. Okay, and I have this article I want to read to you coming from a German news source saying that Germany is going to be bringing in heavy brigades into Lithuania now, apparently 2 battalions. So the Bundeswehr wants to permanently station a heavy combat brigade in Lithuania to relocate 2 existing combat battalions from Germany to the Baltic country as a third combat battalion. NATO's existing multinational battle group is to be integrated into the brigade that Germany has promised to protect NATO's eastern flank. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius announced on Monday the decision to permanently station the 203rd Panzer Battalion from Augustdorf and the 102nd Panzer Grenadier Battalion from Observietach as the core of the new brigade in Lithuania. According to the minister, the association, called Panzer Brigade 42, will have around 4,800 soldiers and will be supplemented by 200 civilian employees from Germany. So this is huge news, guys. Okay, huge. All right, Russia pulling out of the Conventional Forces Treaty today, NATO pulling out, and yesterday, Germany announcing they're going to be reinforcing Lithuania. Guys, something's brewing in the Baltics. Something is brewing in Eastern Europe. I'm telling you, all these Russian military transport planes going to Kaliningrad, it's not for nothing. Okay, something is building up over there, and we've had a lot of high priority reconnaissance planes patrolling the Baltics the last 3 weeks or so. We've had several combat Sentinel planes flying through the Baltics and around Kaliningrad, and the U.S. Air Force only has 2 combat Sentinel planes, and those planes provide intelligence directly to the president and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And they've been flying around Kaliningrad like every second day for the last 3 weeks. Okay. We also had Forte 11 and RQ-4 Global Hawk patrol Poland for the first time a few days ago. All right. So something is brewing over there, and it's very possible that when things kick off in the Middle East and things get crazy in the Middle East, which could happen any day, Russia is going to move in with their forces into the Baltics or potentially attack Poland, potentially attack Finland. So things are escalating, but Germany is now moving almost 5,000 soldiers and two panzer battalions into Lithuania. These are heavy combat battalions, heavy combat brigade. Okay. So things are really getting serious, guys. All right. And I want to just show you guys some flight paths from overnight last night. We had a B-1 nuclear bomber fly from Ellsworth Air Force Base to what appears to be Barksdale. Its transponder was turned off somewhere over southeastern Oklahoma. And at the same time, we had a nuclear war command and control plane airborne last night doing loops out in the Atlantic Ocean here. And when these planes do loops like that, it's when they deploy their trailing wire antenna. And that's how they communicate with the submerged nuclear armed submarines. And they transmit nuclear attack options to the submarines. And also, if there were a nuclear war, they would transmit what are known as emergency war orders, or EWOs. And that basically just means that they're giving the order to launch from the president. Okay. And yesterday, I reported that there was a notice given to soldiers and guardsmen in the Army about expanded training for casualty assistance and casualty notification officers. And in that notice, the Army said that they want to expand the number of casualty assistance officers and casualty notification officers in the Army. And they want to do that because they want to be ready for some kind of a large scale conflict or mass casualty event. So it sounds to me like the Army is getting ready for World War III. Okay, why else would they suddenly put out these notices for expanded training so soldiers can become casualty assistance officers and casualty notification officers? All right, it's very, very unusual. And this morning we had something going on in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida. We had an AWACS plane and we had two aerial refuelers doing loops off the coast of Panama City. And we also had a NATO AWACS plane flying over Latvia overnight last night. And then we had another Russian military transport plane going to Kaliningrad. Okay. And I don't know if this is probably the 10th one this week. So this is very, very concerning. And I have a source who lives near Raven Rock Mountain Complex, which is in southern Pennsylvania. It's a bunker for the Pentagon, also known as the Alternate Military Command Center. And this is where the Pentagon would go during nuclear war. It's a bunker under a mountain. And my source told me today that they saw two fighter jets flying over Raven Rock, and two military helicopters were flying towards Raven Rock today. So a lot of activity around Raven Rock. And my source told me that this is extremely unusual. This doesn't happen often. So just thought I would share that with you guys. And the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said over the weekend that relations with the U.S. are now below zero. Okay. And I want to just update you on the situation with Israel. A Yemen army spokesman released a video today proving that they launched a barrage of suicide drones at Israel late last night. And by the way, Yemen has actually formally declared war on Israel already. Okay. Algeria has also declared war on Israel. In Iraq, the Islamic resistance of Iraq attacked two more U.S. military bases today in Erbil. They attacked the Al Harir Air Base and another U.S. base near the Erbil International Airport. The Israeli defense minister said that the Israeli army has entered the center of Gaza City, And the commander of the Southern Command of the Israeli Army, Major General Yaron Finkelman, said in a statement to the media that we are fighting in these hours in the most significant centers of the Gaza Strip. For the first time in the past decades, the IDF is in the heart of Gaza City, in the heart of terrorism. In front of our eyes all the time are the hostages who are being held captive by Hamas. Your return is a compass for us. All right, so we have the Israeli defense minister and the commander of the Israeli Army Southern Command confirming that they are now fighting in the center of the Gaza Strip, and the Israeli army has never been in the center of the Gaza Strip in decades. Okay, so this is unprecedented for Israel, and several more rockets were launched towards northern Israel today from Syria. They were launched towards the Golan Heights and they were intercepted by the Iron Dome. So they were launched from Syria this time. All right, so now we have Syria launching rockets at Israel. Okay, these are probably the Iranian militias in Syria. This is in addition to Hezbollah. This is in addition to the Houthi rebels, potentially Algeria, potentially, Egypt, Jordan, Iran. All these countries are coming against Israel, guys. The whole world is going against Israel. There's been all these anti-Semitic protests across the world the last few weeks. Okay, even the UN Secretary General Guterres has been showing some signs of anti-Semitism. He's been demanding that Israel stop their military operation, and he's been saying a lot of negative things about Israel. Okay, so this is all coming in lockstep with the Bible and what the Bible talks about would happen in the end times, that the whole world would go against Israel, that the whole world would go against Christians, and we're seeing this happening right now before our eyes. In Lebanon, the Israeli army carried out some kind of an airstrike in southern Lebanon near the Israeli border in the vicinity of Naqoura, and a hardline Iranian group has been actively recruiting potential suicide bombers for operations in Israel. The group responsible for this recruitment drive is called Hezbollah, which is different from the Lebanese Hezbollah with the same name. And they've initiated a campaign in the southeastern Iranian city of Mashhad. And apparently, this is a significant place in Shia Islam. And they put up posters calling for martyrdom on the streets of Mashhad, imploring residents to submit their personal details for consideration. The posters declare that it's time for jihad and seek individuals to join a special battalion of martyr seekers for Palestine. Okay, so they're trying to recruit all these jihadists, guys. And like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I showed you the videos and the pictures of these unmarked buses with these Iranian jihadists. These are volunteers that are going to be sent into Israel, and they were massing in Syria. Okay, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has once again rejected the idea of a ceasefire in Gaza unless hostages are released, and he also addressed Gaza's future after the war in an exclusive interview with ABC News World News Tonight anchor David Muir. So Benjamin Netanyahu is holding steady. He is rejecting the pressure from all of these progressives that think that Israel should stop their military operation in Gaza. The Statue of Liberty was forced to shut down in New York City because of protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Hundreds of activists staged a sit in at the Statue of Liberty on Monday afternoon, demanding an immediate end to the Israel Hamas war. The group sang ceasefire now and occupied the National Monument for about 20 minutes before dispersing. So, guys, get prepared. Things are really getting crazy. I will be back later on this evening with another update. Today is election day, so make sure you go and vote. I'm about to go and vote right now. We got some very important elections here in Pennsylvania and also around the country today. So get out there and vote. And I will be back later on this evening with another update. And I recommend you guys check out my Patreon channel for extra content, exclusive content that I don't share here on YouTube. And I also post these emergency updates first on Patreon before I post them to YouTube. All right, so check out my Patreon. And other than that, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.